Hey, Teacher Thoughts here, coming at you with another video. I'm going to start another thread, yet another thread about Firefly Petunias. And this thread is going to relate to genetic mutations in petunias and whether or not those traits can be passed on to another generation. So all of you that have been following the channel are well aware that I am doing a bunch of hybridization, a bunch of crossbreeding experiments. I've got, well, it's now over 100 petunias over there that are all crossbreeds. And I've been kind of breaking some of the expected norms with this. One of them was that we were hoping that when we hybridized with colored petunias and hybridized them with the Firefly Petunias, that we would get colored blossoms that would come out. And someone had asked a question like, well, how many of those petunias glow? And someone threw out, it's 30%. It's, that's what it should be. Gregor Mendel says it should be 30% is basically what the answer is. But that's not what happened. What actually happened with these petunias is that 100% of them glow. Now, I will admit they are not quite as bright as the original Firefly Petunias. They're just a little bit dimmer. But they glow. They still noticeably glow. And with those, it shouldn't be 100%, but it is. It should be 30% that glow. And that kind of set off a whole discussion amongst a lot of Firefly Petunia enthusiasts. And that's when people started looking back at some of the original paperwork from Light Bio, and they realized that they had actually dropped in 2 copies of the glowing gene. So because there's 2 copies, it means that, yes, that genetic material was passed on, and then that does mean that you can get batches of seed where all 100, the entire 100% of plants glow, right? They all glow. So that's what happened with my batch, is every single plant over there glows. Did we get colored ones? We'll look at that in a little bit. I think we did, even though that the blossoms haven't opened yet. I'm looking at some things, basically looking at stem color, which is traditionally an indicator of blossom color. So if you get a dark colored stem, it means you're going to have a dark colored blossom, lighter colored stems, or lighter colored blossoms. Doesn't always ring true, but it's true on a lot of different plants. And it does happen in some of the petunias. That kind of brings us back to the question about this petunia that I found. Is this petunia trait here, the variegated leaves, is it inheritable in the next generation? If I cross my Firefly Petunia with this petunia, will the foliage of the Firefly Petunia be absent of chlorophyll and be white and variegated? That's where we've kind of got the question about that. An easy answer is no, right? The hard answer is yes. So the easy answer is because a lot of genetic traits when it comes to variegation are something called somatic. And the other half of mutations are germline. Now, I will admit, I've been a little rusty on this. I have not looked at inheritable traits for plants since I was in college, and that's been a bit. So I went back and refreshed my memory on all of this. And the 2 different types is somatic and germline. Somatic is a genetic mutation that cannot be passed down through sexual reproduction. So the offspring cannot inherit that. That's a somatic mutation. Germline is a genetic mutation that can be passed on to the next generation. So with these, the question right now amongst the forum, and I know a bunch of you are going to be watching this video, the question is this a somatic mutation or is this a germline mutation? So let's kind of look back at it. And this is Petunia Glamouflage Grape. Yep, gotta love the fun there with the names. Glamouflage Grape. And it's put out by Hort Couture. This is, of course, won't focus. It is patented. I'm not working with this one with the intent to sell. I'm working with this one with the intent to figure out if I can get it to work. So personal use petunias. So with this one, Hort Couture actually has 2 variegated petunias. The other one is, I think it's called Pink Lemonade. So it's a Glamoflage Pink Lemonade. And what makes it curious is that it also has variegated foliage, just like the grape, which leads me to believe that it is a possibility that this is a germline mutation. And if it is, it means I can snag that DNA in that mutation and I can incorporate it in my Firefly Petunias. So I can use that line of genetic code, and I can bring it in through the non-genetic engineering, but through the crossbreeding and cross-pollination. So I can bring that information in and incorporate it in with the Firefly Petunia. And then once I get it in, then I can hybridize and cross it back and forth a couple of times until I get the glow back up where I really want it. And then I have a variegated foliage. That's the goal. So I'm hoping that since this foliage is variegated and this same company, so since that company sells a second petunia that has that same visible trait, I'm hoping that I can get this to inherit and cross down. So let's go look at my other petunias and we'll see kind of where we're at right now. This is going to be my breeding stock. So these are my petunias that are they're just starting to take off. These are all cuttings. This is propagation work that I did up at the school with my students. So this is, now remember, this is a student project. So there are 18 of these that we're going to use as basically our female portion of the experiment. So we're going to be creating all of our seeds here. We're not going to be creating them on other plants. They're going to be on here where I can contain them and I can work with them here rather than trying to identify all of my pollen and my other things in a big mass like this. So all of these are all my seedlings. So this is the 100+ seedlings that we got from our first batch of cross-pollination. This is that other seed tray that was, the petunias were really small and struggling. Those just got planted up tonight. But the other thing on these is right there. See if we can get it to focus. Right there, right in the center, off the tip of my finger. That is a bud. So we do have flower buds that are starting. And you'll kind of see them off to the side. Let's see. There's one. There's one starting in there. Now, the other thing you may notice is these are a little bit taller of a petunia. So I had more of a wild-styled petunia that I was working with. They're more upright. So we're going to have to do some cross-breeding back, which is okay. So we'll get a little bit more vigor and growth, and then we'll cross it back with the Firefly. There's another one there too. The other thing that is interesting is we still do have some of these with the oval-shaped leaves. So they are staying oval, whereas these are lancate. So we know we've got some crosses there. And then in here, you can see how that stem in there is purple, but we move over to this one over here and it's green. So that definitely leads me to believe that we've got some colorization that has been dropped in there, because the stem color is varied throughout the whole mix. So some of them are green, some of them are kind of purple. You know, we've got a little bit of colorization in there, and they've all been outside. So saying that it's a response to sunlight or fertilizer is not correct. These have all had the same fertilizer, all have the same sunlight. So we are seeing some differences there. I was thinking that we were going to have to wait at least another month or so before we got to see anything. But now looking at these, I think we're just actually a couple of weeks away from seeing some of the blossoms. I may take some of these flats in and do another glow test to kind of see where they're at. I'm hoping they don't go dark. I'm hoping they maintain that glow. So I did get a couple more petunias to work with. This is Headliner Crystal Sky. So we're going to play around with this one. It has that nice speckling, and it's a lighter color. So this one, if I can get this one to cross, that should look pretty good. This is, I was looking at this one. It is a Dreams Rose Picotee. So it has that white The white around the outside, which I really kind of like. This white ruffle, I think will be kind of striking. That's not a patented one. There's no patent listed on the tag. And then over here is Headliner Night Sky. This one, that Headliner Night Sky, from my personal experience, it's not as stable as I'd like to see. The blossoms don't always come out true. It's nothing against it. It's just kind of the way things work. Headliner Night Sky, I've known about that petunia for a couple of years. I literally have a t-shirt with that particular petunia on it from one of the field days that I went to. So it is one that I've known for quite a while. And I have seen other people do some hybridization with it, and it does look quite striking. But far and away, this is what I'm looking forward to, is figuring out what's going on here. And this one in particular, the Glamoflage grape, unlike with the other ones where I'm only going to use certain stock plants where I do my pollination work, I'm going to work both ways on this one. So I'm going to pollinate this with Firefly, and then I'm going to pollinate Firefly with this. So I'm going to swap pollen between the Glamoflage and the Firefly, and then I'm going to take pollen from the Firefly and put it in the Glamoflage, and we're going to collect the seeds, and we're going to do a run of those plants just all by themselves. And I'll separate the seed out so I know which direction it went and which direction it took, just to see if that makes any difference. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, I figured I'd answer a few questions there about the Glamoflage grape and what I kind of think about it. But really the answer is we're going to just have to see. This is definitely one that I know a lot of you are curious about, and I would really love to see this one glowed, have that variegation glow. So anyway, as always, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. Ag Teacher Thoughts out.